What is Vedic? Episode 6. Gods and Goddesses. The Vedic cosmology is famously described as having 33 million individual gods, all with varying levels of power. Besides being a gross exaggeration, because there is no list of the 33 million, the Srimad Bhagavatam makes it clear that all of the gods and goddesses are animated from the first cause of creation, the Supreme Source. This is the same source that the monotheistic religions call God. While there are many sects within the pantheon of Vedic culture, and each with their own unique beliefs, similar to how Christianity has Baptists, Jesuits, Catholics, Evangelicals, etc., the Vaishnavic cosmology outlined in the Srimad Bhagavatam is not blasphemous of Western Christian monotheism, but rather it expands upon it with what we could call a multi-level monotheism. The dialectic between monotheism and polytheism, one god versus many gods, has long unnecessarily divided the Western and Eastern religious traditions. However, the Vedic cosmology is both polytheistic and monotheistic because it describes one supreme source that gives and sustains life to all types of divinity and consciousness, animate and inanimate, without exception. As a quick example, if a dolphin, shark, whale, algae, salmon, and starfish all represent the varying states of conscious awareness possible in the material world, then God is each one of those, and God is also water. With regards to Vedic devotees worshiping multiple deities, each deity can provide a specific type of aid to the devotee. For example, one could venerate a powerful divine being such as Shiva, who governs the principles of destruction, death, piety, spirituality, amongst many other things. So by chanting certain mantras and conducting severe austerity to Shiva's continence with intention, one will receive the requested benedictions from him. But Shiva receives his power and authority from the one source, which animates and sustains his powers. Shiva himself worships the one supreme, embodied as Lord Krishna, and who also takes many other forms, and we can say takes every form. Thus, by devoting oneself to the undivided One Supreme, one is able to bypass all the other gods and goddesses, or we can call them divinities or deities. For a business metaphor, it can be likened to skipping over the middle people and going directly to the source. Here is a Catholic analogy. Many humans have achieved high levels of material purity to the point they were able to perform miracles. These saints are not called gods, but because they submitted to the one true God so absolutely, who appeared as the human avatar Jesus, they were able to affect physical reality with powers unobtained by other humans. And confirmed miracles are a prerequisite for someone to be canonized as a saint in the Catholic tradition. It is the same with the Vedic gods. Although each has their own duties and dominions within creation, they are all subject to the will of the One Supreme. The divine Vedic beings achieved more advanced powers than the Christian saints because they lived during different yugas, which by definition held different potentialities for success. If you keep an icon of the Catholic Saint Christopher, who is the patron saint of traveling, it doesn't mean you are polytheistic, only that you are venerating him and asking for protection while traveling, the domain he is tasked by God to protect. And just as one can achieve the status of a powerful god or saint by following righteous principles, one can also choose to worship vice-based deities called asuras or demons, who will award a human with controlling and demonic powers. Prophecies of the future. The Srimad Bhagavatam individually documents God's 22 avatars that came before Krishna and goes on to predict an avatar after Krishna whose purpose is to, quote, delude those who are envious of the faithful theist, unquote. This description closely resembles Jesus, whose central narrative revolves around deluding the highest members of his socio-historical priest class, the envious Jewish Pharisees, who attempt to defy him by sentencing him to death, which Jesus ultimately conquers. The Srimad Bhagavatam also predicts a final avatar that will appear at the end of the Kali Yuga. His name is Kalki. In Canto 1, Chapter 3, verse 25, and Canto 12, Chapter 2, verses 19 and 20, we are told that, quote, at the end of the Kali Yuga, almost all of the rulers of the earth will have degenerated into plunderers, unquote, and Kalki will ride on a white horse and destroy the entire Dhymayanic presence on earth, quote, those thieves who have dared dressed as kings, unquote. And after Kalki destroys all of the irreligious demons on earth, he will install a new Satya Yuga Golden Age. Does this sound familiar? This prophecy from the Srimad Bhagavatam echoes the Book of Revelation's second coming from the Bible's Book of Revelation, chapter 19, verses 11 and 12, and Revelation chapter 21, verse 1, when the warrior Messiah, with, quote, a name that no one knew except himself, unquote, rides on a white horse from the heavens and defeats the army of the Antichrist, who is known as, quote, the beast, and ushers in a new earth. So upon close study, one will discover that the teachings of Jesus are consistent with living in the state of goodness, as prescribed by the Srimad Bhagavatam, and perhaps Jesus incarnated during the Kali Yuga so to preserve for us the essential teachings for living a successful human life. The Western reader will be pleasantly surprised with the continuity that the Vedic system has with the Western Christian spiritual traditions. At their core, the Srimad Bhagavatam and the teachings of Jesus share the same fundamental idea. The Supreme Personality of Godhead lives in everyone's heart, from Canto 8, Chapter 16, verse 29, and the kingdom of heaven is within you, from the Gospel of Luke, Chapter 17, verse 21. In my personal opinion, the Bible seems to be a guidebook and even a rule book for living life during the Kali Yuga. For further reading on these subjects, see the links below for the articles When God is One, Why Does the Vedic Tradition Teach Polytheism, the Worship of Many Gods? Jesus Predicted the Vedic Literature? And Kalki, the Next Avatar of God, and the End of the Kali Yuga.